I know what it feels like to wake up every morning with a sense of panic. The world has told you that if you don't find a job, you are failing. You're watching everyone else around you submitting resumes, dressing up for interviews, checking off boxes for someone else's requirements. And yet something inside you whispers, this isn't your path. It feels wrong, unnatural, heavy. You try to ignore it. You tell yourself you're lazy. You beat yourself up. But that voice inside doesn't go away. Because sometimes that voice isn't your doubt, it's your calling. Not everyone is meant to fit into the mold. Not everyone is meant to follow the system. And there comes a time when you must listen to something deeper than logic. You have to tune into something stronger than tradition. Because there are people out there, maybe even you, who were never supposed to look for a job. You were meant to create something bigger. And that's exactly what God is trying to tell you. God said, don't look for a job because He didn't build you for one. He built you for purpose. You see, there's a difference between a career and a calling. A job is something you get paid to do. A calling is something you were born to do. And sometimes you spend years of your life chasing jobs because the world convinced you that's the only path to security, success, and significance. But deep inside you know, a job will never satisfy what you were designed to build. God didn't put breath into your lungs just so you could survive paycheck to paycheck doing something that doesn't light your soul on fire. He didn't place ideas in your mind, visions in your heart, and talents in your hands just so you could waste them building someone else's dream while you bury yours. There's a reason your spirit feels restless. It's because you're being called to lead, not follow. You're being called to start, not apply. You're being called to create, not conform. God said, don't look for a job, not because jobs are bad, but because you're called for something different. You're not running from employment, you're running toward purpose. That discomfort you feel every time you try to fit into the 9-to-5 box, that's not failure. That's divine resistance. That's heaven's way of redirecting you. That's the hand of God closing doors so you'll finally have the courage to build your own. The world may not understand you. Your family might question you. Your friends might think you're crazy. But when God gives you an assignment, He doesn't require anyone else's permission. Stop waiting for validation from people who weren't given your vision. God didn't put that fire in their belly. He didn't give them the dream, He gave it to you. And if He gave it to you, then He will guide you, fund you, strengthen you, and walk with you as you pursue it. But you have to trust Him more than you trust the system. You have to let go of the need to look successful right now and focus on becoming faithful right now. You have to stop scrolling through job boards, looking for a position, and start listening to your spirit for direction. Because when God said don't look for a job, He meant don't settle, don't shrink, don't give your destiny away for direct deposit. Yes, it would be easier to find a job, it would feel safer, it would quiet your critics. But easy and purpose rarely walk the same path. Safety is not the same as fulfillment, and quieting your critics isn't worth silencing your calling. You were made for more. You were made for that idea you keep pushing aside. You were made for that business you keep talking yourself out of. You were made for that book, that platform, that movement, that invention. You weren't made to wait for opportunity. You were made to create it. But here's the thing. Stepping into your purpose isn't just about you. It's about the people connected to your obedience. There are people waiting to read the book God told you to write. There are lives that will be changed by the business He placed in your heart. There are families that will be fed by the nonprofit He showed you in your dreams. There are people suffering in silence, waiting for the light you carry. And you think this is just about finding a job? No. This is about building a legacy. This is about saying yes to a calling bigger than your resume, more eternal than your salary, and more powerful than your qualifications. Because if you only go after what you qualify for, you'll miss the miracles God wants to give you. And yes, the road will be hard. You will question everything. You will face doubt, fear, rejection, and failure. You will have days when you want to go back to comfort. But remember, purpose doesn't grow in comfort zones. Destiny isn't found in safety nets. You weren't built for comfort. You were built for calling, and calling requires courage. God doesn't need you to have it all figured out. He just needs you to move, to take the first step, to believe that if He planted the vision, He'll also provide the provision. If He gave you the dream, He'll also open the doors, not always in your timing, not always your way, but always in alignment with your purpose. So stop worrying about how it will all work out. That's His job. Your job is to believe. Your job is to build. Your job is to stop looking for the next open door and become the door for someone else. And I get it. The world is screaming at you to conform, telling you to be practical, to be realistic. But don't forget, faith has never been practical. Faith has never been realistic. Faith sees what others can't. Faith builds when there's no blueprint. Faith walks on water when others are afraid to leave the boat. And faith is exactly what you need right now. Because this isn't just a career decision, it's a calling decision. Are you going to follow fear, or are you going to follow faith? Are you going to settle for the life the world hands you, or are you going to build the one God called you to? That's the real question. And for some of you, the reason you haven't been able to find a job isn't because you're unqualified. It's not because the market is bad. It's not because you're unlucky. It's because God is protecting you from a life that's too small. He's blocking what you're not supposed to build. He's closing doors so you'll finally look inward. He's shaking up your plans so you'll finally depend on His. So instead of praying for a job, maybe it's time to start praying for clarity. Maybe it's time to ask God, what am I supposed to create? What am I supposed to lead? What am I supposed to build? And then be bold enough to act on what you hear, even if it scares you. Especially if it scares you. Because fear is often the signal that you're getting close to something sacred. The enemy doesn't fight what doesn't threaten him. So if you're feeling resistance, good. That means you're onto something real. That means your life is starting to shake the gates of hell. That means heaven is getting excited and hell is getting nervous. God said, don't look for a job, because He's preparing you for a mission. And missions don't come with manuals. They come with faith. They come with sacrifice. They come with seasons of hiddenness where no one understands what you're doing. Seasons where your bank account is low but your spirit is full. Seasons where you're planting seeds no one else can see, trusting that in time the harvest will come. So plant anyway. Build anyway. Speak anyway. Write anyway. Lead anyway. Not because it's easy, but because it's eternal. You have to understand, when you follow God's voice, you're no longer building for today. You're building for generations. You're building a legacy your grandchildren will benefit from. You're building something that can't be outsourced, fired, or downsized. You're building something that lasts. So no, you don't need to look for a job. You need to look within. You need to look at your hands, your heart, your gifts, your story, and realize this is your assignment, this is your business plan, this is your calling, and everything you need, you already have. Now you just need to use it. Stop waiting to be chosen. You were already chosen. Stop waiting to be qualified. You were already equipped. Stop waiting for an opportunity. You were already born with one. So step up, step out, stop waiting. Because the world doesn't need another person doing what they hate for a paycheck. The world needs someone on fire. The world needs someone who dares to live out their divine assignment. The world needs someone who has the audacity to say, I will not shrink my purpose to fit into someone else's job description. Not everyone is meant to find a traditional job. Some people were not created to fit into the structure of a 9-to-5, clock-in, clock-out routine. That's not to say jobs are bad or dishonorable. There is dignity in all work. But for some, the constant pressure to get a job feels like trying to wear clothes that just don't fit. You can force it for a while, but deep down it's uncomfortable, unnatural, and even painful. That discomfort is not laziness or rebellion. It's often the signal that your purpose lies elsewhere. You see, purpose is not something that always follows the standard route. It's not always found through job listings or interviews. Sometimes it's found in stillness, in restlessness, in frustration, in repeated closed doors. It's found when everything around you tells you to move in one direction, but your soul pulls you another way. Purpose whispers when the world shouts. It nudges when logic argues. And when you ignore it long enough, it doesn't go away, it grows louder. You were created with a specific assignment, a divine blueprint, and sometimes that assignment doesn't look like a position someone else can offer you. Sometimes it looks like building something no one has ever seen, creating what doesn't yet exist, leading where no path has been cleared, innovating when others are satisfied with routine. That's not something you apply for, that's something you obey. God doesn't make everyone the same. He gives some people the courage to dream beyond the system, to challenge the norm, and to walk by faith, not by sight. He gives them ideas that are too big for job descriptions, passions that won't fit inside someone else's company, visions that demand their own foundation. If that's you, then it's time to stop apologizing for being different. You're not broken, you're built for something else. While the world says your worth is tied to your employment status, God says your worth was established long before you ever worked a day in your life. Your identity is not jobless or unemployed. Your identity is chosen, called, equipped. You weren't made to just survive. You were made to build, influence, change, and lead. And for that you'll need more than a job. You'll need purpose. So if the doors won't open, maybe it's because you're supposed to build your own. If the jobs don't feel right, maybe it's because they're not aligned with your calling. You were never meant to just work, you were meant to fulfill destiny. And destiny doesn't always come with a title or a paycheck. Sometimes it comes with faith, bold steps, and a deep trust that what God put inside you is real and worth following. A job is something you do to earn a living. It meets practical needs, provides stability, and helps you function in society. It's transactional. You give your time, skills, or labor, and in return you receive a paycheck. And while there is absolutely value and dignity in that, a job is not always the same as a calling. A job can be part of your journey, but your calling is about your purpose. It's not just what you do, it's who you are. It's the work that makes you feel alive. It taps into your deepest convictions and aligns with what God designed you to do on this earth. A calling doesn't just occupy your time, it pulls on your spirit. It keeps you up at night, not in stress but in inspiration. It stretches you beyond your comfort zone and challenges you to become more than you thought you could be. A job might ask, what can you do? But a calling asks, who are you becoming? It's not limited to a title, position, or company. In fact, your calling may look nothing like what the world would consider a career. It might involve creating something new, taking risks, serving people in unseen ways, or stepping into leadership before you feel ready. Callings often don't come with step-by-step instructions. They defy logic. They break molds. They require faith. That's why many people ignore them, not because they don't hear them, but because the calling feels too big, too uncertain, too slow to produce results. But what if that's the point? What if your calling is meant to pull you out of your limited mindset and into total dependence on God? You can leave a job and find another. You can change your career path several times in your life, but you can't walk away from your calling and feel whole. You can't suppress it without feeling the weight of something missing. That's why so many people feel unfulfilled, even with a steady paycheck. They're doing work that doesn't match who they are inside. It's not about money or recognition, it's about alignment. When your life aligns with your calling, there's peace, power, and clarity. The danger is not in working a job. The danger is settling for only that. When deep down, you know. Discomfort and rejection are often misinterpreted as failure, when in reality they can be signs of divine redirection. We tend to believe that when something doesn't work out, when the application gets ignored, the interview ends in silence, or the opportunity disappears, it means we're not good enough, or that we're being punished. But that's a limited, surface-level view of a much deeper process. What if those closed doors are not signs of rejection, but of protection? What if God is not denying you success, but rerouting you towards something greater? When the same doors keep shutting, despite your best efforts, it may not be because you're doing something wrong. It may be because you're trying to walk into rooms that were never meant for you. The discomfort you feel in jobs that don't align with your spirit isn't just dissatisfaction, it's a signal. It's your soul trying to tell you that you're off course. God often uses discomfort not to harm you, but to move you, to shake you out of settling, to push you toward the path He designed just for you. We pray for open doors, but rarely do we thank God for the closed ones. Yet it's the closed doors that often teach us the most. They teach us to listen more carefully, to trust more deeply, and to stop forcing our way into spaces where our calling is not welcome. A rejection from man might be a redirection from God, and that redirection can lead you to discover your true assignment, something that doesn't just give you a paycheck, but gives your life purpose. Sometimes God has to let you experience frustration, so you'll stop chasing the wrong things. He has to allow the no to protect the yes. He has waiting for you. That temporary rejection can save you from years of misalignment. It's not a dead end, it's a divine detour. And while it may not make sense in the moment in time, you'll look back and realize that every no was part of your preparation for the right yes. So if you're facing rejection, don't be discouraged. Be alert. Pay attention. Ask God what He's trying to show you. Don't let discouragement bury your vision. Instead, let it refine your direction. Trust that He sees what you can't. And remember, divine assignments often begin with human disappointment. But God never closes a door without having a greater one prepared. You don't have to wait until everything is perfect to begin. You don't need more degrees, more approval, more money, or more connections to get started on what God has placed in your heart. The truth is, you already have what you need to start. Everything that God wants to do through you, He's already begun to equip in you. That vision you keep seeing, that passion that won't go away, that dream that keeps resurfacing, those aren't random. Those are signs that God has already started preparing you for something greater. Too often, we delay stepping out because we're waiting to feel more ready. We think we need someone to discover us, endorse us, fund us, or give us permission. But the kingdom of God doesn't operate on the world's system of validation. God doesn't call the qualified, He qualifies the called. When He gives you an assignment, He also gives you what you need to fulfill it. It may not look like much right now. It might just be a small skill, a simple idea, or a quiet prompting in your spirit. But that's all God needs. He uses the smallest seeds to grow the biggest trees. Think about Moses. He didn't believe he could lead. He had a speech problem and a past. But God asked him, "What's in your hand?" Just a staff, something ordinary. And yet it became the very tool God used to part seas and demonstrate power. What's in your hand right now? Is it a talent, a message, a burden, a business idea? Don't dismiss it just because it seems small. Don't overlook it because others can't see its value. If God put it there, it's enough. Sometimes the biggest enemy of your calling isn't fear, it's delay. It's waiting for everything to make sense before you move. But faith moves first. Faith acts while the outcome is still uncertain. And God honors that kind of boldness. When you take a step with what you have, He multiplies it. He opens doors you didn't even know existed. But He won't move until you do. You're not waiting on favor, it's already been given. You're not waiting to be chosen, you already are. You don't need the approval of the world when you have the backing of heaven. So stop underestimating what you carry. Stop talking yourself out of your own assignment. Stop hiding behind excuses when you've been given authority. What's inside you is enough. What God gave you is enough. You're not empty, you're full of purpose, full of potential, full of power. You don't need to chase opportunity. You need to activate obedience. Because the moment you decide to move forward with what you have from where you are, God meets you there and turns your little into more than enough. Your calling is not just about you. It was never meant to be. The purpose planted in your life carries weight far beyond your personal success, comfort, or recognition. It's connected to lives you've never met, futures you can't yet see, and breakthroughs someone else is waiting on. You may think your dream is just an idea, but to someone else, it's an answer to prayer. That business you've been hesitating to start, someone is waiting for the job it will create. That book you keep putting off, someone needs the healing it will bring. That message you're afraid to share, it might be the exact words someone needs to keep going. When God places a calling on your life, it's never meant to end with you, it's meant to flow through you. He blesses you so that you can be a blessing. He equips you so that you can equip others. He calls you so that through your obedience, others can find courage, clarity, and freedom. Every act of obedience is a seed sown into someone else's story. You might never know the full impact, but that doesn't mean it's not happening. The enemy would love to convince you that your calling is optional, that your silence doesn't matter, that playing small is safe, but playing small robs people of the light you were called to carry. Hiding your gifts doesn't protect you. It withholds healing from others. Shrinking your vision doesn't make you humble. It makes you unavailable to the people God assigned to you. Because someone is assigned to you. There are people who will only hear truth through your voice, who will only come alive through your work, who will only see hope because you didn't give up. That's why you can't quit. That's why you can't delay. Your yes to purpose unlocks someone else's future. It sends a ripple effect that stretches far beyond what you can imagine. You may not see all the faces, but they're there waiting, hoping, praying that someone will do the hard thing, take the risk and walk in obedience. And that someone is you. This isn't about pressure. It's about perspective. You're not just building a dream, you're building a bridge. You're not just finding fulfillment, you're creating a path for others to find theirs too. Every time you show up, even scared, even uncertain, you give others permission to do the same. So take the next step. Not just for yourself, but for the lives attached to your faith. Because when you walk in your calling, you don't just change your life, you change the world around you. And that is what real purpose looks like. Stepping into your God-given assignment will always require more faith than certainty. It won't always make sense, it won't always be comfortable, and it definitely won't always come with applause. But purpose was never meant to follow the crowd, it was meant to follow God. And that path, more often than not, will challenge you to choose between faith and fear, between trusting what God said and bowing to what the world expects. Fear is loud. It shows up in the form of doubt, insecurity, procrastination, and pressure to be realistic. It convinces you that you're not ready, not smart enough, not financially stable enough, not talented enough, that you're not enough. And if you listen long enough, fear will paralyze you. It will trick you into believing that safety is better than surrender, that comfort is more valuable than calling. But God didn't create you to be controlled by fear. He didn't breathe life into you so you could spend it playing small, hiding behind excuses, or waiting for the perfect moment that never comes. He created you to walk by faith, not by sight. Faith doesn't mean you won't feel fear. It means you move forward in spite of it. It means choosing obedience over approval, vision over visibility, purpose over popularity. The truth is, faith will cost you. It might cost you relationships, routines, security, or people's understanding. But it will never cost you more than disobedience will. When you ignore what God is calling you to do because of fear, you don't just delay your own growth, you delay every life your obedience was meant to impact. That's the real cost of fear. It keeps you trapped in the temporary while robbing you of the eternal. Faith, on the other hand, unlocks legacy. It opens doors that hustle can't. It makes a way where logic sees none. It gives you peace in uncertainty and strength in weakness. When you lead with faith, you don't have to know how everything will unfold. You just need to know who sent you. And if God sent you, He will sustain you. So don't let fear be your decision maker. Don't let society's expectations become your script. Don't let the pressure to be normal rob you of being anointed. God is not looking for perfect people, He's looking for willing ones. People who will take the first step even when the rest of the path isn't clear. People who will say yes even when it's scary. People who believe that leaving a legacy matters more than living in comfort. You've got one life, one shot to fulfill the assignment God gave you. Don't waste it trying to please everyone. Don't bury your calling just to feel safe. Choose faith, not fear. Faith is the only path that leads to purpose, and the only path that leads to a legacy worth leaving.